This video is created for educational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice. Any financial decisions should be made with careful consideration and prior analysis. Hey there, Nathan here. Today I've got an interesting experiment for you. I'm going to pit two teammates against the same task. My house AI assistant, which my team and I have been building, and the well-known ChatGPT. Both can analyze information and suggest ideas, but I'm curious to see how two very different kinds of logic handle the same exact problem. My assistant isn't just an algorithm. It's built around principles I've honed over the years. ChatGPT is a universal tool with a vast knowledge, but a different way of working. We're not here to decide who's smarter. We'll simply watch how both perform in a real scenario and draw some takeaways along the way. Should be fun. If you'd like to see live analysis in action and understand what makes it tick, drop by my community. You will find the link in the description and the pinned comment. Inside, I share my full process. No cookie cutter templates, no flashy promises, just real examples, thinking out loud, and a chance to look behind the scenes. Many people join to gradually figure things out and shape their own approach. If you prefer context over theory, you'll probably find it useful. But for now, let's jump into the experiment. Well, friends, let's begin with ChatGPT. First, we choose the team we'll be working with. That's all for now. We won't be using any additional tools today. I'm curious to see how the chat performs on its own. Alright, let's begin, friends. So, we're getting a signal to go down. I see that the overall movement is downward. The structure holds each new pullback is becoming less significant. Right now, we're seeing a continuation of the main trend after a small rise. In such situation, it's logical to follow the current momentum. Alright, that was pretty clear for me. Let's move on. The chat indicates an upward move. Okay, let's see what's happening. Earlier, there was a strong downward impulse, but then it paused and began to gradually recover. Now the movement has shifted toward previous levels, where there was already some activity. This could suggest renewed interest in those zones, so it makes sense to continue an upward move. And that's exactly what happened. Let's see here. Up. Alright, whatever you say, ChatGPT. We see a strong, consistent move in one direction. A series of higher heights without major pauses. This may indicate a desire to continue climbing. At this point, there is confirmation, and a decision is made up to go up. But I'm not entirely convinced. And look at that. Soon after, there is a reaction at a previously active zone that had already stopped the movement before. A reversal occurs and the price heads back the other way. There it is. The chat made a mistake. Well, let's give it another chance. Things happen. The chat suggests we move downward. We see that the chart has stopped advancing actively in one direction and is now oscillating within certain boundaries. Right now, it's near the top edge of this range, where previous reversal occurred. Based on that, the decision is made to go down. Well, I can't argue with that. Let's do one more. I'm starting to get the urge to take over myself. When decisions have to be made on the fly, sometimes in seconds, mistakes are easy. That's why I bring my digital assistant into the flow. It doesn't replace intuition or experience, it sharpens them. Sometimes one precise prompt is all it takes for the whole picture to click. That's exactly what the assistant highlights, like a conversation partner who points you to what matters when your own eyes have grown used to the noise. Inside my community, I share not just the assistant itself, but also how to work with it, which parts to lean on, and how to integrate it into your own routine. If your curiosity wins out, the link's in the description and the first pinned comment. Take a peek if you would like to dig deeper. Now, back to it. After the analysis, the chart suggests an upward move. Okay, it's working. Previously, the price was going down, but then the recovery began and the chart started to rise. Based on the chart's behavior, continued movement in that direction was expected and a corresponding decision was made. However, what followed was a pullback and the upward movement wasn't as strong as expected. Sometimes, the chart gives signs that the movement may continue, especially after a pause and change of direction. The chat noticed such a setup and suggested going up. We went along with the idea, but as happens, the trend didn't develop right away, and the chart pulled back a bit. This happens too. It's important to watch and learn. Alright, now let me test my own assistant and see if there is a difference in the results. Okay, let's start as usual. I'm keeping the value at 28, but I will add a couple of tools that I personally use to track the situation. My assistant doesn't need them, but I want you to see how the bot's decisions align with indicators readings. I chose MACD and RSI. MACD helps detect possible trend reversals, while RSI shows whether the price has gone too far in one direction, usually followed by a correction. Now, let's choose a team and get started. Alright, I'm ready and so is my assistant. The bot runs an analysis. We've got a signal to go up. I see the general trend is upward. There is steady movement with the new local highs. After a recent dip, the situation has started to change. Clear green signs appear on the chart. RSI crosses the center line upward, which could indicate renewed buying interest. MACD also turns in the same direction. All these signs suggest the previous pullback is weakening and the upward movement may continue. Well, not a bad start. Let's keep going. Moving on. My assistant says we should go up again. I know that movement is happening within a narrow range. The main trend was previously upward and now there is a chance it will continue. Let's watch. Let's keep going, friends. Okay, what do we have here? Another rise. I see a steady upward movement and now there is a temporary pause, with the chart staying with a single range. RSI is near the middle and not indicating a drop. This might mean interest in the upward trend remains. I also see a return to the lower boundary of the range, which makes this a good point to follow the main direction. Alright guys, let's move ahead. Okay, what do we see here? Now we're dropping. Alright. I noticed that after following the trend, the chart stopped at the important area where there was a previous reaction. Selling activity has increased here. The upward movement has stalled. The indicators show uncertainty, no clear direction, which signals a possible clash of interests. Now it's time for the final round of this contest. Alright, let's take a look here. Time to go down. I see that after trying to continue upward, the movement sharply slowed. The upper boundary held and the chart quickly reversed. It's clear that sellers are starting to take control. The nature of the movement is changing. A structure is forming that, in my experience, often precedes a reversal. The indicators also begin to shift in the opposite direction. Overall, I agree with my assistant. That's it, friends. I think today everything was pretty clear. My assistant was more accurate and confident than ChatGPT. Honestly, that's no surprise. I've invested not only technology into its development, but also years of my own experience, observations, and trial and error. That's why it is so well adapted to real tasks. It was interesting to compare, and once again, it proves how important a personal approach is when working with smart tools. So, that's our experiment. You saw how in this situation my assistant pulled ahead. No surprise. I've poured 8 years of knowledge into it, tested it in real world, and refined it non-stop. That's why it delivers the way it does. Like a partner who already knows where to focus and where to pause, so you can see more. If you would like to watch this workflow in a calmer setting with real case studies and conversations, visit my community. It's all live. Breakdowns, discussions, support. A great way to find out whether this approach fits you. Links in the description and the pinned comment. Thanks for hanging out today. See you in the community.